Africa is very large. It is over 5,000 miles from the top to the bottom and over 3 times as big as the United States. The equator runs through the middle of Africa. Most of the continent is between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Africa is surrounded by water. To the west is the Atlantic Ocean. To the east is the Indian Ocean. The northern side of the continent is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. There are 6 countries in Africa that are islands, including Madagascar, a large island to the southeast. We can divide Africa into 4 regions for the purpose of studying it, and they are North Africa, West Africa, East Africa, and Central and Southern Africa. Much of Africa is covered by plateaus. They are flat or gently rolling areas of land that are relatively high in elevation. Much of the southern and eastern parts of Africa are high plateaus. The east region has the highest elevations on the continent. The eastern region is also home to the highest mountain in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro. This mountain is 19,341 feet above sea level. It is very cold at the top with snow and glaciers present all year round. The land at the bottom of the mountain is a warm and tropical rainforest. Mount Kilimanjaro is on the edge of the Great Rift Valley, also in the eastern region. A unique feature of Africa's physiography is its Y-shaped integrated Rift Valley system that is believed to have been caused by the movement of the continental plates. The Rift Valley begins from the Red Sea and extends through the Ethiopian highlands to the Lake Victorian region. Its total length is estimated to be 6,000 miles. Average width ranges between 20 miles and 50 miles. Africa is the home of the longest river in the world, the Nile River. The Nile begins with the merging of 2 tributaries, the White Nile and the Blue Nile. It then flows over 4,000 miles to empty into the Mediterranean Sea in Egypt in the north. The Congo River flows through rainforest in Central Africa. It flows out to the Atlantic Ocean. 2 other important rivers in Africa are the Niger River and the Zambezi River. The Niger River is the 3rd longest river in Africa. It runs through West Africa and empties into the Atlantic in Nigeria. The Zambezi is the 4th longest river and is in the southern region. There are many waterfalls on this river, including the beautiful and the dramatic Victoria Falls. Africa's coastline is generally straight and relatively short compared with that of other continents, thereby resulting in more artificial harbors than natural ones. The shape of Africa is relatively simple with a remarkably smooth outline. The rivers plunge off the edges of the plateau into the sea in a series of falls and rapids. The coast is fringed with coral reefs, sandbars, mangroves, swamps, lagoons that block passage to the continent's interior. There are also deserts in Africa. The Sahara Desert is the world's largest, covering 8.5 million square kilometers. Defining Africa's northern bulge, the Sahara makes up 25% of the continent. An oasis is a hub of water in the desert, often in the form of springs, wells or irrigation systems. About 75% of the Sahara's population lives in oases. The area where the Sahara meets the savanna is called the Sahel. This area is hot and dry, getting only a few inches of rain a year. It is made up of flat, barren plains that stretch across Africa from Senegal to Sudan. The Sahel contains the fertile delta of the Niger, one of Africa's longest rivers. Unfortunately, the Sahel's fertile land is rapidly becoming desert as a result of drought, deforestation and intensive agriculture. The Sahel's animal communities are constantly scavenging for scarce water and vegetation resources. The Sahel's green vegetation only emerges during the rainy season, but is often quickly harvested by farmers or consumed by animals. There are also two smaller deserts in the southern region of Africa. The Namib Desert runs along the Atlantic coast from Angola through Namibia. Also in the south, the Kalahari Desert includes parts of Botswana, Namibia and South Africa. There are many factors that affect climate. In Africa, the two most important features are distance from the equator and elevation. Areas near to the equator generally have warmer climates. This is because the sun's rays are more direct there. Areas between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, which includes most of Africa, have tropical climates. The equator also has an effect on the number of hours of daylight and the seasons. At the equator, the length of day and the night is equal. The number of hours of daylight does not change through the year. As you get further north or south, the number of hours of daylight changes a lot. Because Africa is in the tropics, the temperatures tend to be relatively moderate. However, there are still parts of Africa that are very cold. Some even have snow all year round. This is primarily because of elevation or the highest of the land above sea level. Higher elevations tend to be colder than lower elevations. That is why there is often snow at the tops of mountains. The areas of Africa that have higher elevations like the Plateau highlands in the east tends to be cooler. Rainfall in Africa varies a great deal. In the dry deserts like the Sahara and Namib, there is very little rain. Droughts can be a huge problem in these areas. The coastal regions tend to have a great deal of rain because the air picks up moisture from the ocean. In other areas of Africa, there is often a rainy season when most of the rain falls, followed by a drier period. The precipitation and temperature greatly affect what kind of plants or vegetation grows in different regions. In the tropical regions, where there is at least 60 inches of rain a year, tropical rainforests grow. There are large rainforests in Central and West Africa, including much of the Congo Basin. The rainforest is home to a large number of plants and animals. Tropical savannas cover much of Central, South and West Africa. These are large grassy areas with occasional trees and bushes. Because these areas are large and have ample grass, They are good homes for large animals such as giraffes, zebras and elephants. Many of the images of Africa that you might see on television or in the movies are of these savannas. The deserts in Africa are hot and dry and do not support many plants or animals. Life there is very harsh. Some areas of the desert are just empty expanses of sand. Other areas have grasses and small shrubs growing. Desert trees must adapt by having deep root systems, thick bark and small leaves that don't give up much water. The climatic conditions greatly affect the people who live in Africa. Most people in Africa are subsistence farmers. That means they grow enough food to eat and that is their primary occupation. The common staple crops in Africa are corn, cassava and rice. There are also some crops that are grown in Africa for export to other countries. These are called cash crops. They include coffee, tea, cocoa, peanuts, cotton and sisal. In many areas of Africa, the rain is unpredictable. That is difficult for farmers. Too little or too much rain can result in not enough food. During some years, famine is a problem that takes many lives. In areas like the deserts that do not have enough rain to support agriculture, other means of living are necessary. Most people who live in deserts are nomads. They travel from place to place, often herding animals like camels, goats and sheep. Their movements are planned according to where there will be water. Having heard about regions of Africa, physical features, climate and vegetation, now it's time to speak about the natural resources of the African continent. Africa is a land rich in natural resources, though not all of them have been fully taken advantage of. While the economies of most African countries are based on subsistence farming, these resources are also an important part of national economies. Minerals and crude oil are abundant in much of Africa. In the northern region, petroleum is found in Libya, Algeria and Egypt. There are also oil reserves in the west in Nigeria, Angola, Gabon and the Republic of Congo. Natural gas is also found in Algeria. The southern region is a significant source of diamonds, gold, copper and bauxite. These minerals are exported. Many of the countries that run the large mining operations are foreign owned. As a result, the profits often leave Africa. Also, as with agriculture, world price changes can have a negative effect on local African economies. All four regions of Africa have forests that can produce wood for export. Many trees have been cut down and sold to other countries. However, in order for this to be a sustainable resource, the cut trees must be replaced. If new trees are not planted, there will be none to sell in the future. African nations are starting to see the value of planting trees and guarding other resources so that they are available for future generations. Another great natural resource of Africa is its national parks. Especially in East, Southern and Central Africa, the national parks attract visitors from around the world. They come to see the lions, zebras, elephants and other animals that can't be seen anywhere else. In the past, hunting and habitat destruction threatened these animals. More recently, African governments have recognized the importance of conservation and are protecting these resources. Another great potential resource is hydroelectric power. Africa has many large rivers. As local energy needs grow and as the world energy markets tighten, hydroelectric power is an important resource. Because it is a renewable energy source, it has many advantages over fossil fuels like coal, gas or oil. As Africa continues to grow and develop, it is important that they diversify their economy. As long as the economy relies on subsistence farming, it will be subject to problems like drought. However, if the economy expands to include things like more manufacturing, services, energy production and tourism, Africa will be stronger. Lastly, we shall discuss about some of the tourist attractions. There are few places in Africa that are worth mentioning when it comes to Africa's popular tourist destinations. And some of them are the Masai Mara in Kenya. Each year, around 1.5 million wild beasts and 3 lakh zebra along with other antelope gather up their young and start their long trek from Tanzania's Serengeti Plains further north to Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve. They go in search of food and water. Their journey runs in a clockwise circle and the animals cover a distance of around 1800 miles. Victoria Falls. The Victoria Falls lie in between Zambia and Zimbabwe in southern Africa. It is just over 11.7 km and 355 feet high. During the wet season, over 500 million liters of water plummets over the edge into the Zambezi River. This incredible amount of water generates a huge amount of spray which shoots 1000 feet into the sky and can be seen 30 miles away. Hence, it is called smoke that thunders. The Pyramids of Giza. The Pyramids of Giza, just outside Cairo in Egypt, represent one of the greatest architectural feats by man. The last surviving member of the 7 wonders of the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza is one of the world's oldest tourist attractions, built more than 5000 years ago. There are in fact 3 main pyramids in Giza. Each pyramid is a tomb to a different king of Egypt. Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. Africa is known as one of the best destinations for adventure travel, and what can be more adventurous than hiking up the world's tallest freestanding mountain. Africa's highest peak, Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, stands at 19,340 feet high. The mountain is part of the Kilimanjaro National Park and is a major climbing destination. The mountain has been the subject of many scientific studies because of its shrinking glaciers. Gorilla safaris. With only about 700 mountain gorillas left in the world, seeing them in the wild is something only a few people will ever have the chance to experience. About 300 mountain gorillas inhabit an extinct volcanic region called the Virunga Range along the borders of Rwanda, Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo in East Africa. The time one is allowed to spend observing them, the gorillas, is limited, but the hours spent sitting and watching these incredible animals will be one of the best you have ever made. Cape Town in South Africa. Cape Town is a highlight of any trip to southern Africa. The natural beauty of Cape Town makes it one of the most attractive cities in the world. Cape Town boasts beautiful beaches as well as the impressive Table Mountain right in the heart of the city. The restaurants are world class and so are the wines. Cape Town is also one of the most culturally diverse cities in Africa and has a reputation for social tolerance. Jenny Mali. Jenny Mali, founded in 800 AD, is one of sub-Saharan Africa's oldest cities. Situated on an island in the Niger River Delta, Jenny was a natural hub for traders who shuttled their goods between the Sahara Desert and the forest of Guinea. Through the years, Jenny also became a center of Islamic learning, and its market square is still dominated by the beautiful Grand Mosque. Zanzibar in Tanzania. Zanzibar is one of Africa's top destinations because of its fascinating history and its incredible beaches. Zanzibar's location in the Indian Ocean has made it a natural trading center throughout its history. Famous for its spices, Zanzibar also became an important slave trading post under its Arab rulers. To conclude, we could say that Africa straddles the equator, having an almost equal south and north extent. This division of Africa into almost two equal parts across the equator makes the climatic and physical conditions in the north repeat themselves in the south. Africa is the most tropical of all continents. Climate and vegetation range from equatorial rainforest, tropical deserts and savanna, grasslands to Mediterranean. The Sahara Desert is the largest of its kind anywhere in the world. Certain tourist attractions are popular because there is a special feeling it gives to people who visit places, and it's outside the fact that places like this hold a very rich heritage and recognition.